Okay, welcome everybody. I'm Victoria Grinman, and today I'm here with Anita Prendergast, and I am so excited to have you here, Anita. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Victoria. I'm so happy to be here. What an exciting topic we have.
I know. So, just so everybody knows, Anita and I met through an incredible connection, right? And I really didn't know, I never know what to expect, but whenever somebody who I respect and think is amazing says, you need to meet someone, I'm always a yes. So I was like, yes, I'm going to meet Anita. And Anita, you just blew my mind around a topic that is so top of mind that I didn't even know that it was top of mind for me because it has to do with touch. It has to do with parenting. It has to do with babies. It has to do with children. It has to do with neurointegration. It has to do with stress reduction. I mean, it has to do with everything that is so related to what we are so passionate and interested in, especially at this time when everyone's so anxious. And so before we even get into that, I would love for you to share with everyone, who are you and what do you do in this world?
Great. Yes. Thank you. So, as you said, my name is Anita Prendergast, and I am a good mom. That's that's basically I'm a good mom, and like all good moms, we need a village. So I
Mm,
created Village Academy for families to help good moms like me and you and busy mom professionals have tools that they can use to help their children navigate life from infancy till adulthood, stress free, guilt free.
I love it. I love it. I love that you framed that first and foremost, you're a good mom. And that's really where, in speaking with you, I find that that's where you're coming from is a very nurturing place. And you're also a massage therapist. Is that correct?
I am. I am a massage therapist. I've been a massage therapist for about 15 years now. And before that, I was in early childhood education. So I found a way to merge the two. I was in early childhood education for about another 10 or 15 years. So you can't tell, right? But yeah, it's been that way. I found a way to merge the two because I found that the earlier you start children in on the, like I said, massage and that brain body brain connection, the better they turn out. And not to pat my own shoulder, but my kids were the best class in whatever preschool I worked in. I had the best class. Everyone wanted to be in my class.
Oh, I love that. I can't wait to dig into that because that's not a coincidence. And I'm so excited to have you on because one of the things that I talk a lot about when I either work with parents or I'm working with professionals in the mental or medical health field, and we talk about the importance of somatosensory repetitive experiences early in childhood and how important touch is and how important proximity is, right, to the development of not just the relationship, but the actual development and growth of the brain, right? The brain has to have that input to make those connections. And so I love the topic today. Can massage make your child smarter? Very sexy topic. And I'm curious, Anita, can massage make your child smarter?
Well, let's find out. As you mentioned, touch is connected to your brain. That's one of that is the very first sense that's developed, even in the womb, as early as 3 weeks gestation. That connection is being made between touch and your brain. So when we're born, that's how we communicate with our babies. We communicate through touch. They don't understand what they're saying. They don't know what we're hearing. Every other sense is secondary, but touch is how we communicate to them.
Mm,
Yeah. And so when you think about that, when you think about communication, at first let's take a step back because I want parents to understand what I mean by smart, because I don't want you to stress out about oh, is my baby going to be smart? Which is a lot of times that's what we do. We put our kids in the best preschools, in the best private schools, to hope that they'll go to the best college. And so we had to kind of bring it back and kind of set our expectations on what smart is to us and to our kids. So to me, smartness is can be a number of things. It's not necessarily how great of a score you get on a test, because are all great test takers, it depends on if you're a great test taker or not. So if you're not a great test taker, does that mean you're not smart? Not really, right? So we have to really manage our expectations on what we consider smart.
I love that you're making this distinction, by the way. So, so important, because I'm thinking about so many different kinds of kids with very different gifts. And it's not always the gift of academic excellence that we're talking about when we're thinking about smart, right? So, yeah, I would love to hear more. So, what does make a kid smart? What does smart mean to you?
There are different things that can make kids smart. If you think about one thing, a kid can be, or an adult for that matter, can be a smart aleck, right?
I know some of those. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one way to be smart. And if you think about in our lives, we can be book smart or we can be street smart.
Yep.
That's one thing I think about that connects my husband and I, that he's very street smart and I'm more book smart. So, some things I can't figure this out. And he'll say, just do this. I'm like, that wasn't in a book, but you're right.
I love
So that's smartness as well. But when it comes to our children, it's the experiences that they feel, that they have. So if you have a child who for instance, I had one family who they didn't have a TV in the home for their little daughter. There was no TV, and when I say this little 2-year-old girl, she knew how to speak fluent English, fluent Spanish, and German.
What?
Her mom was Dominican, so she spoke Spanish with her mom. Her dad was German, so she spoke full German with her dad. Not that I understand what they were saying, but when each of them came to pick them up, it seemed like they were having a full-on conversation. And I know, and I taught at an international preschool, so they were coming to the preschool so she can learn English. And she was one of the kids that I can have a full conversation in English at 2 years old. Wow. Give me like coffee, like, so what do you think about the world? And I'm exaggerating, of course, but she was incredible. But they didn't have a TV at home, so what they did, mom read to her every day. She sat around the table and they talked, different things like that. Not saying that you can't have, TV doesn't, does anything to you, but it's just that environment that you set up. Where let's say that you have another child who might not have resources available to them. They might not have a TV, but they might not also have parents who are attentive to them. Yeah. So they don't get that same experience. So their language skills just for one language may not be developed that way. So smartness is definitely linked to our experiences.
I love that distinction. Thank you. And so I even want to bring it back more because this is a very, very rich topic, just that one line, that topic that we have up there. When we think about the development, right? When we think about touch as far as development, there are children who grow up, and I work with a lot of kids who are adopted. And before they were adopted, they had many life experiences that didn't afford them the ability to have proximity to others. Maybe they were in orphanages, or they were in situations where they didn't get the hugs or the gazing of the eyes, or the holding, right, and being able to be inside of the warmth of a cradle, right, and because of that, the brain actually doesn't develop, even though as normally as it could, or has the potential to. And so lots of children have many different needs later on in life for, whether occupational work or, speech and language work, because of those just needs that weren't met related to touch. And so this is really important. This is a human need, so to speak, when we think about development. Would you say that?
I would definitely say that. Now I'm going to go a little geeky on you and get a little scientific.
I love it. I'm a nerd. Keep it up.
Okay, good. So, like I was saying before, when we're born, our brains are not developed yet, but touch is that first sense that gets connected to our rudimentary brain.
Mm,
And so the first 3 years of life, that's when all of those connections, you have billions of connections that aren't connected yet in the
mm,
brain. And that's when everything matters: the touch, the gazing in the eyes, the cuddling, the language, reading books. All of those experiences make those connections to that brain so that, you can have, so once those connections are made, they're made. If they're not made, then it's harder to make those connections. Some of those connections may not, ever be made appropriately or effectively. So that's why it's really important, especially in the first 3 years of life, to really make those brain connections. And as far as massage, I don't know if you want to get into the massage part of it yet, but of course, cuddling is one of those things, like you said, to create that bond. But also crossing the mid. I have my little baby dog.
crossing the midline.
Crossing the midline, that connects the left and the right brain. So yeah, you cross that midline when the babies are young, or even if you want to do, little crosses like that. That makes that brain body connection, and it helps build those, and it helps makes your brain, you know, stronger.
It does, right? We talk about neurointegration and integrating the different parts of the body, the different parts of the brain. I love that. And so, yeah, I actually do. I would love to get into that. So when you are doing work with families, or if there are tips that you can give to families around what can they do, like what is massage when it comes to a child or a baby? Because, when I think of massage, I know a little bit more in terms of context, right? But people think going to a spa once every month if they can, or it's a luxury. But when you're talking about massage, can you just break it down for us, make it a little bit more normal? Like what is massage in
Yes.
your context?
I'm so glad you asked that question. So I believe that we need massage every day. We need that physical touch every day. And like you said, the regular touch that we get is fine, but we need that intentional touch. That's what's going to make, first of all, for young children to feel that security that they need. A lot
Mm,
of times, that's the initial things that kids need. If they need to feel secure, they need to feel love, and that's the foundation of their development. They feel those things, then they can go out and progress, and not have the separation anxiety, or have less separation anxiety. So intentional touch is really important. And like I said, I keep stressing for the younger kids, it's important to do it often and early and be intentional about it. So a lot of times it happens at nap time. I tell you what, when my son was small, um, he, preschool, I would ask, oh, how's your day? Oh, nothing. I couldn't get any answers from him. But as soon as took a nap, as soon as he went to bed at night and I started rubbing his back and he got all comfortable, I learned what Bobby did. I learned everything just came. I got
I
a
love it.
wealth of information from him just by taking that intentional time, that he knew it was coming for a long time. He was nervous about spending the night someone else because he didn't know who was going to pat his back. So
Yeah.
it's definitely a bonding experience. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and when I think about that, and that's such a great tangible example, so many times, and I was just working with a couple this morning around, their parenting, and they're great. And one of the things that one of the parents was talking about was how much, they really wanted their child to just share with them, right? And we as adults, we talk a lot, right? Whether or not we're very verbal or not, we talk more than the average kid about what's really there for us. And most of us, some of us. And for children, sometimes, even though they seem like they're very smart, right? They can talk, they can identify, but when we ask them about the emotional parts of their day, like what happened, right? We want to know what happened. Did you have a good day? Did you have a bad day? Did something happen? Did Bobby say something? Right? All of a sudden, it's like they don't want to talk about it because the verbiage doesn't come as easily, right? Children are still learning how to put words together to describe how they're feeling, let alone figure out what they're feeling. So providing that container and that space with the touch, right? Just that proximity and comfort and that safe environment seems to, what does it do to kids? Like what, because if your son was just the floodgates open, what does that provide for children?
It lets down that barrier that we automatically have. Like I said, when you ask a question, it's like it's almost like taking an exam. You have these hormones that are released that says, the fight or flight, or freeze hormone that just says, okay, I'm in this situation, I don't have the words, I'm just going to shut down. Whereas if you start to massage, you're releasing the hormones, to the feel good hormones, the oxytocin, and that it makes you relax, and it makes your mind open, so that even if you don't have the words, you can just say whatever comes to mind, and then us as adults, we can determine what that is. So it's all about relaxation, basically, and releasing those hormones to say, okay, it's okay to open up, and to say what you want to say. And well, one of the other things that you had mentioned about the language. So massage, one of the things that I teach in my group sessions for massage for children is teaching them that language, because sometimes they don't know. So if they're experiencing touch, let me see, I have something here, the 8 emotions that we experience through touch. We can experience anger, fear, love, gratitude, disgust, sympathy, sadness, and happiness,
Wow.
all just through touch. So if we give those things, if we see that a child is upset, and we comfort them with a soothing touch, and we say, "Are you upset?" That gives them the vocabulary. If we see
Mm.
that they're angry, and we give them, maybe we'll show them, okay, let me take out my doll again. We're not going to use negative touch, but maybe like a percussive touch. Are you angry? Is
Mm.
this angry? I think you're feeling angry, and then we'll smooth them, going downward strokes. That's a more soothing stroke, so it's going to make them soothing. If they're feeling sad, maybe we can do to make them, to change their emotion. We'll do strokes that go up. It's more
Mm.
energetic. So, maybe, of course, if they're crying, they're not ready for a massage, so to speak, but afterwards, you can do the strokes going up afferent towards the heart,
Mhm.
increase the blood flow, to make them happy, or to, just change and give them that language that they can use.
I love that so much. Anita, and we talked about this when you and I connected individually before this interview, that I remember being at camp, and us girls, I was at an all girls camp and then a co-ed later on in my life. But, we used to just touch each other. We used to braid each other's hair. We used to, like, crack an egg on the head and let it drip. We used to do, like, before the bus came, like, I'm just going to tickle your arm and, like, tell me when you're upset.
Yes.
Just all this stuff. But now, with just so many different things happening in society and how we think about touch, and, I find that people are more resistant and less apt to touch. There's a lot of concern, for good reason in some situations, around consent, and at what point, like, is it okay? And so, do you get those kinds of questions when you're working with families, especially with families that maybe have children who are a little older?
Right. I was about to say, especially with the older children, definitely, let's just say that somehow we've gotten away from touch. We made touch a taboo. Like, no one wants to touch anyone.
Mm,
anymore, especially with our boys, especially with our grade school kids who needs it the most. We touch our babies and our toddlers, in different ways because it's fun and they enjoy it. But somehow once they get to the school age, it's like, don't touch me. Don't touch anyone. Don't touch. Don't touch. And like we just said, touch, it expresses so many emotions and you need that touch every day. So
mm,
just the fact that you're standing, at the bus stop with your friends, girls are a little more into touching anyway, that makes that connection to that person. And when you have a connection to that person, then you feel secure, you feel valued, you feel like you belong, you're part of this community. And it makes you more confident and compassionate. And that's one of the things that massage I focus on when I'm working with the older kids, is
mm-hmm,
building that confidence and that compassion. And yes, you can touch. It's not that. The one thing that I will say is the permission. The permission process is very, very important in any stage, even with the infants, to ask permission. And so I have a son who he doesn't like to be touched. So, so there are different ways to connect with him without touching, but you always ask. And I have another funny story too. The so talking about touching, my husband just walked in tonight. As far as touching, and asking permission. So at one point I was working at a big company, a big well-known company in New York. And I was there as a temp person, and the lady who I was working under, I was her executive assistant. She had no idea that I was here. She was on vacation. They said, Anita, go here. She came back from vacation. I was there. She's like, who are you? And so she was so like, what's going on? It turned out that after a couple of weeks or so that she was downside. She was fired. So I'm there. She doesn't really know me. She doesn't really like me or whatever. And she's like in her office bawling, crying. So I walk in, I was like, can I give you a hug? And she was like,
mm.
yes. And so I hugged, I gave a hearty hug, intentional, with purpose. And don't you know, she took me with her and she said, you're my person. You're my new office manager. And this was a big level company. She was a big level executive at the time. We
Mm,
went and she opened our own, just from a hug,
mm.
that feeling of connection and of trust. So definitely always ask permission.
Oh, I love it. I love it. And I got chills as you were saying that, because the important word there is intentional. So can you share with people, and I know exactly what you're talking about, this the distinction between giving someone a hug, right, versus giving someone a hug that is intentional and driven with purpose, right? So what would be the distinction between the two?
Right. So an intentional hug or an intentional touch, it's more like a connection that you're making. So it's part of that compassion that we feel, or that empathy that we can feel for someone else, to say, okay, I can understand, or I know you're going through something. I may not understand it, but I see that you need support. So it's providing that necessary support, and listening to, the body language, listening to, just listening to your intuition almost, and
Mhm.
just being there in that moment. There's no cell phone that you're going to pick up in the middle of it, or there's no, it's like you're there in that moment with that person. And that can happen with adults, that can happen with children,
Mhm.
infants. When we think about, is our child crying? Oh, they just want our attention. Give them your full attention.
Mhm.
And, and then you build that trust, you build that connection. And then, and then they feel more secure after that, more confident, so that they can have the confidence to go on and, make that change that they need to make, or, you know, whatever it is that they need to overcome what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. And people can really feel, I mean, I can certainly feel the difference between someone who's just giving me a hug to shut me up because I'm crying or whatever it is,
Right,
versus someone
exactly.
who,
Oh, you're okay. You're okay.
right? But a hug with intention communicates so much that words can never say. And
Yeah.
I've definitely felt that difference. And the other thing that comes up for me as you're sharing this, Anita, is that you're saying that if it's intentional, the person that's providing the massage or the intentional touch has to somehow be connected with themselves and connected with intention. And, it's almost like I say we can't give a kid something we don't have ourselves. So I can't necessarily give an intentional massage or touch if I'm in a space of feeling erratic or chaotic or anxious myself. And so, do you have any tips for parents who want to implement more touch and massage, but themselves are feeling anxious or not in a space of wanting to touch or wanting to be touched themselves?
So the thing about I have what's called the P's for providing the perfect massage because, Prendergast P's, whatever. But one of the things that I talk about is being present. So what does being present mean? Being present means, like I said, we're setting this intention to be one-on-one. So I'm not having my cell phone on. I'm not waiting for, the rice to cook or, whatever it is. I'm not waiting for the dinner or whatever. I'm setting this intention. I'm being present in the moment. So what that means is even if you have to take a deep breath, we got to talk about a lot of deep breathing exercises. So just take that deep breath to come one with yourself. And, if you notice when you take a deep breath and you hold it for a second, all of that tension is gone. It's like there's no room for anything else but that deep breath. So then you bring it down and then you just take that moment to just be one with yourself and come from your intention and say, okay, what can I do for this person? And, your presence is the gift. I love saying that. People, they say, oh,
That's very cool. I like that.
yeah, the gift.
Your presence is the gift. I like that.
Yes, yes. So you're giving the gift of your presence. And like you said, you can tell when someone gives you a hug and they're present and a hollow hug. That's just like, okay, I hugged you. Let's move on, So it definitely makes a difference that being present in that moment.
Yeah, I love that so much. I'm just present too. How many times this week I've talked about breath work, and I talk about it all the time, but just how often breathing and strategies for deep breathing, for example, or any kind of just comes up inside of conversations related to connection, reduction in anxiety, all of that. So I like that you brought that up because that's definitely an important aspect of being present, right? We first have to be present with ourselves. And
Right.
I love that so much. And go ahead.
Sorry. As a massage therapist too, we teach deep breath. If you get a massage, like your monthly massage, whatever it is, we always say, okay, take a deep breath for me. It changes it just sets the stage, it changes the mood in the room and everything. So we say how your breath goes with your energy. So it's the energy work or also with your blood flow. So with anything, you have it within yourself to heal whatever it is, whether it's emotional or physical, and it all comes with the blood flow. If you think most of our illnesses are probably from a lack of some type of blood flow to it, whether it's not, that's the blood is not getting in there to break up the tension. So, and the breath as well is that flow of air, that flow of energy through your whole body. So if you have a good flow of energy, everything can pass through, then you're healthy. If there's some blockages some way, whether it's because you're so stressed, oh, I got to take this test or my kids are driving, there's no energy going.
Yes. You have me thinking about so many practitioners that I love who are just looking at things holistically, right? So many times we want to just take the Advil or take a medication. But if you bring it back to the basics of how do I get my blood flow to be more regular and to increase, like how do I do those things? And it really goes back to breath work. It goes back to looking at what is it that my body can do and does naturally that I may not be paying attention to as much as I could be, right? And really maximizing that before going to any alternative sort of options. So
Right.
I love it. Anita, what would you say? I'm thinking about parents who have kiddos who are just super sensitive, and some kids love touch, like they love to just be held and hugged and pressure. Like I love like a nice big hug, right? And then there are kids who just, either there's been a trauma, physical, or an experience that has left them, triggered by certain touch. And parents want to, increase that strategy. What would you say? Is there a conversation to be had with kids, or what are some techniques that they can implement? Maybe one or two techniques that they can implement to begin this process.
Right. Well, what you're saying sounds a lot like someone maybe with ADHD or on the autism spectrum where their touch is not where they don't want to be touched. I'm sorry, not ADHD, but the autism spectrum where touch, they're sensitive to touch. And the number one thing is definitely permission. So the permission process is so essential and so important, because if you're saying, okay, Victoria, would you like a massage? They may say no, and that's okay. They may say no, and that's okay. So what you're doing is that you're respecting, you're honoring them. So they have that confidence to say, okay, well, she's not going to do something that I don't want her to do. So then if that's the no, then you can let me get my doll again. You can get them to say, okay, well, let's massage Susie here. And so I'll show Victoria how to massage Susie. If this is a real person, or you can say, okay, well, can you rub my shoulder? Because the thing about touch is reciprocal. So it doesn't matter who's doing the touching.
Oh my gosh, my mind is blown right now. Touch is reciprocal. It doesn't mind who's doing the touching.
It doesn't matter whether I'm touching you or you touching. Like I said, with my son who doesn't like to be touched, I was really upset one day. And first of all, he told me, just breathe, because we forget sometimes, we're not perfect. So I'm like, and then he rubs my back. And this is the one, like if I touched his back, he would just like, get off of me. But he's rubbing my back, so it's like, it's reciprocal. He gets it, we get it from each other. So it's benefiting both of us. And eventually, maybe you can start small. And also too, sometimes kids will love to be touched at one point, and then next day, okay, no, I don't want to. So it's all about, timing, asking, reading those body language cues, and just being intentional.
That's awesome. And if you were to say, like, how would someone ask for permission?
That comes in different stages. Obviously, for babies, you would say, are you ready for your massage? And you rub your hands together. So they're getting the verbiage, massage, and the cue, rubbing their hands together. And then you place their hands. Now, if they're not ready, they'll let you know. They'll run away. They'll scream. But most of them, they'll say, what is she doing? And they'll sit still. They'll look in your eyes, and they're like, okay, I like this. And they'll let you proceed.
Okay, got it. So a lot of this is attunement, Anita. I love what you're talking about. A lot of it is, right, being attuned. Like a lot of parents say, how will I know? How will I know? And the beautiful thing is it's the connection that you have with your child. And sometimes we don't. Sometimes parents don't naturally have that. And so it's an opportunity to really practice that attunement. I love it. Because you said that before about babies. I said, how do we ask babies permission? but I hear what you're saying.
It is sort of implied, but there are definitely cues that you can look for. Like I said, if they're crying out of control, that is not the time to start a massage or anything like that. But if you've done it on a routine, on a regular basis, they'll get to know what this means, and they'll know, oh, I like that. So they might actually calm down if you start the massage. But also, I wanted to talk about teenagers or school age kids because I get a lot. My teen is not going to let me touch them. You know, the older kids, they're not going to let me touch them, which is okay. They won't let you touch them yet or in that moment. You know, but if you keep saying, if you keep, or if you ask, if you get that language to them, okay, massage or the deep breathing, that's something else that you can do together where, you know, you can just sit across from one another and do deep breathing exercises. That's that connection as well. That's proximity where you are making that connection. It may not be physical. And then when they're ready for the physical touch, usually with the older kids, it's because they, you know, hurt. My daughter, she, you know, she, every time she does some type of physical activity, my legs hurt. So, so then that's when you can say, okay, well, let me rub your legs. And then that's initiating that type of touch.
I love
so
it. What about
more available for, you know, other types? It's not like you're going to massage your teenager with the oil, you know, it's just, you know, you might give them a scalp massage. Oh, are you ready for that test? Let me, you know, give you a scalp massage, you know, get
so
your
you're
brain
really expanding the way that massage has to look. I think about co-regulation exercises and even breathing back to back, right? That's touch. And it doesn't necessarily have to be massage in the way, in the traditional sense that we think about it. So I really like those tips.
Right.
That's really
Yes.
awesome.
And I do say massage intentionally because I do want us to get away from the fact, from, you know, the thought that massage is just for the wealthy or just for a treat or just, just for birthdays. I really want us to get into the mindset that massage is something that is as necessary, which studies have shown. A lot of the stuff I'm saying is backed by studies. So it's massage is as important as diet and exercise in our health and development. So I want us to kind of, get that physical touch in there with the diet and the exercise. I think that's something that we're missing.
I love that. And one other question I had was about self-massage. When I worked with children and I was leading, I'm thinking about now when I was leading yoga groups, for the little babies that I used to work with, I used to walk around with this lotion that I made. And, if they were in Shavasana, right, in corpse pose, I would maybe give them a 30-second massage on their palms and on their feet. And then we would teach, self-massage, to like really be grateful and appreciate our hands for working for us all day and our feet, for helping us walk and all of that. And I wonder, do you teach self-massage to kids as well?
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the ones for the older children, like the school age, the teenagers, to let them do their own massage. And then once they feel okay, because how much of your self-massage can you do? Not that much. So eventually they say, oh, can you rub my shoulder? So it's like, I have to do that reverse psychology. You can rub your own shoulder or I can rub it for you and it's going to feel so much better. But definitely self-massage, like I said before, an exam, it's proven to release the relaxation hormones so that you can perform better on exams. So just the self-massage, intentional, around the neck, because that's where a lot of the lymphatic tissues are. So you're increasing that circulation and you're doing the squeezing because this is where we have the tension. And sometimes, I know my daughter at my kids, they had a really good teacher who was into this stuff and she would have them. She said, if you're having difficulty with this, massage your temples. And she would, and I would see my daughter like massaging her temples. I'm like, I'm thinking about something, so it's just these little things that self-massage can be very beneficial for.
I love it. I love it so much. I'm also thinking about, I used to tell kids, which part of your brain do you want to stimulate? And they used to do child's pose in a seat, and they would, touch their frontal lobe and, befriend their anxiety. And so we would touch the back, and so really I'm hearing from you, it's really just connection to self, connection to others, and really starting that from a very, very young age, right?
Yes.
And the importance of that. This is such an important conversation, Anita.
Thank you. I like what you said, Victoria, starting at a young age. This is why I had the massage for infants, toddlers, and teens, because so many adults come to me with all of this tension that they probably started in middle school at some point.
Yeah.
So if we can get our middle school kids to take those deep breaths, to believe in massage is not just for mom and dad, or for I can't afford it or whatever. You can afford massage. You can afford and it's not even about getting a professional massage. That's another thing. It's not even about which the massage therapist. Just a minute, time out here. It's about having that touch every day, so it doesn't build up. So that when you do come to us as a massage therapist, we don't have to stick our elbow in a knot, or we don't have to, spend so much time. We can actually do the work of maintenance, of maintaining your circulation.
Mm-hmm. I also love that you said that, right? Because a lot of the work that a massage therapist has to do when we go like once every 6 months is not maintenance. It's really working out all of these, things that to even get to the maintenance portion takes a while. So we want to keep up with it. So, so we're doing that work along the way. It's not just every once in a while.
Exactly.
Anita, I love, so I see, down there in the banner, villageacademycourses.com is how people can reach you. Can you share a little bit about what your offerings are? Like if somebody was interested in learning more or working with you and getting in touch, how can they do that?
Right. So definitely you can go to the villageacademycourses.com and learn about different courses that I have. One of the things that I have coming up is a massage for infants, toddlers, and teens class where parents and professionals can come to learn these techniques. And that's going to be in May. And I can drop a link or, whatever, we can get the information out. But just to teach these techniques so that you can do them at home. You don't have to worry about, not touching. It's okay to touch, ask permission. If they're younger, definitely the parents are always in the room, always present. So you don't have to, worry about that as a parent. And if you're a parent, you get these techniques that you can help your child navigate. You can help you and your child. And it's also, if you're a massage therapist, you can also get continuing education hours. But if it's okay with you, if anyone has any questions or needs any more information, I can give you a link to my calendar and they can sign up to just have a conversation.
Amazing. That would be great. I would love if you did that. And anyone, if you're interested, go to villageacademycourses.com. You can get in touch with Anita. Anita, you're coming to us from Georgia?
I'm in Georgia. So the live class is here in Georgia, but it's also going to be live on the web, on Zoom. So it's approved for New Yorkers as well. And if you want to join me live, the in-person part is limited to 10 people because of restrictions, but definitely it's live online.
Amazing. Well, I hate cutting these conversations because there's just so much more to talk about. And I'm sure that we're going to do this again. But I'm glad that we were able to do this because I think this is a very, very important topic and so just attuned and aligned with what we're trying to do, which is really support people at this time and to have joyful, smart, loving, and curious kids. So thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Victoria. I appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll see you soon.
Okay.